The Blue Jays are contenders right now, but in 2026, this is where everything changes. We're entering a new era of Blue Jays baseball, one without Bo Bichette. And after this season, the roster could look completely different with longtime staples like Kevin Gausman, George Springer, and Dalton Varsho no longer guaranteed to be here. That's why this 2026 season comes down to one question. Is the next core of this team ready to carry the window open, or will it finally come to a close? I know it sounds kind of dramatic when you think about the year they just had last year, and it was an awesome year. They had a ton of great performances from guys that you did not expect, but that's exactly where I want to hang my hat on. Can those guys do it again? And can the free agents that you just brought in carry this team into the future? Can they prove that 2025 wasn't just a flash in the pan, rather that is the expectation for years to come? What happens this season won't just define 2026, but it will define the Blue Jays for the next 5 years. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. And today, I'm going to be highlighting some key contributors on this Blue Jays team that will define the success of this Blue Jays team in the future. Before we get into it though, guys, I encourage you to please hit that like button and consider subscribing to Blue Jays Today. We make daily Blue Jays content, so whether you're a new fan or an old fan, this is the place where you want to be. So the reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place was I wanted to do something a little bit different than what we usually do here. What we usually do is we follow the off-season stories, free agents, trades, rumors, all that kind of stuff. But now that that's kind of died down and we're kind of looking ahead at the future, I really wanted to look ahead at the future and just talk about whether or not we believe that this team is set up for success. I'll give you my spoiler answer right here. I do think this team is set up for success. It will depend on the guys that I'm about to bring up in this video moving forward. So let's jump right into it, guys. First things first, in order to have a successful franchise or just a successful baseball team, you need to have the young players on your team find success early, because it makes sense for a couple reasons. One, I want a great player on my team, but two, you're not necessarily spending a lot of money or breaking the bank on that player's contract. So if you can get value from a young guy that is equal to some of these free agents that you're signing for tens of 20 and 30 millions of dollars per season, that's obviously huge to save player payroll. So let's take a look at the youth on this Blue Jays team. First of all, one of my favorite guys on this team is Addison Barger. He is kind of being asked to play a pretty big role this upcoming season. Without Bo Bichette, they're missing that guy in the top to middle part of the lineup. Bo Bichette would either be batting leadoff or second, third, fourth, what you name it. He was all over that top part to middle part of that lineup. He was getting on base for the guys behind him, and he was also driving in the guys in front of him. Barger is kind of asked to be that role. Without Bo Bichette during that whole World Series and postseason run, he was thrust into that upper part of the lineup, and he was awesome in the postseason. When you take a look at the numbers that he had in the playoffs, it was out of this world. I mean, look at this. For a young guy in his first season with a batting average of 367, on base of 441, OPS of 1,000, that was awesome. And I do believe the postseason is going to have some implications on his confidence moving forward and what he can do when the lights are really bright. But for Barger's case, he's obviously not Bo Bichette in terms of the ability to put the barrel to the ball and all that kind of stuff. He has a lot of power. He has a lot of swing and miss, mind you, but he does, again, provide a lot of power and some defensive upgrades over Bo Bichette, you could argue, with that arm strength. He can have some pretty incredible plays out there in right field, maybe gets moved over to left field this season, and he can really gun down some players at the dish. So Barger is going to be a key factor in that sense, but again, circling it back to the offensive side of things, I think being a lefty thrust in the top part of the lineup moving forward for this team, that's something they've always been looking for. Can we find that lefty bat, and can we find that power bat? Well, Barger's going to be around for quite a while here, ladies and gentlemen. Taking a look at the Blue Jays payroll, I mean, this is Barger way down here. He's getting paid $820,000, estimate this upcoming year, and he's still into next season in pre-ARB. Then he goes into ARB1. You're going to have this guy until 2031. So obviously, it is, you don't need me to say it, it is crucial for Barger to kind of become that everyday player and provide a lot of WAR that Bo Bichette did last year, or did for the following years that he was, or his entire tenure with the Blue Jays. You know what I'm saying. Barger last year had a WAR of 1.2. He didn't get necessarily everyday playing time, and he kind of bounced around from positions. But if Barger can find himself to be a staple 3 WAR to 4 WAR player any given year, that would make up for the loss of Bo Bichette, and you'd have him for quite a long time. Now, another guy I wanted to mention, and he's not so young as Addison Varsho, but he will still be here for the next 3 seasons, and that is Ernie Clement. Could you believe that this guy is turning 30 this season? I would not have guessed that, but a soon-to-be 30-year-old Ernie Clement is going to be a staple in this team moving forward, and last year was very exciting, especially from a WAR standpoint. 4.3 WAR from Ernie Clement. I mean, that's incredible. And now Ernie Clement is going to be poised for an everyday role at second base for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's going to be a great defender. We obviously know that, but he also showed flashes of what he can do offensively. The batting average is pretty good, 277, and the OPS, while it is, below average, the OPS plus is at 95, he was still a pesky hitter at the bottom of the lineup, and while providing good defense, that's all you're asking for a guy like Ernie Clement, and obviously, we all know how great he was in the postseason. Can he build on top of that? Can he gain that confidence? And can he go into 2026 knowing he's an everyday player, taking all that in consideration and applying it and maybe taking even another step forward? Even though he is 30, 30 is still right in his prime, right? He can do this moving forward. Again, he's going to be relatively cheap, $4.6 million he's making this year in his arbitration, and he's going to have 2 more arbitrations moving forward, and he's guaranteed the playing time. You've earned it, Ernie. Now, can you do it for this team, over the next 3 years? I hope so, and we'll wait and see. Now, going back down to the youth of the youth, you've got Trey Yesavage. It is such a small sample size, and I know everyone's feelings towards Trey Yesavage is super high. We're super high on this guy. He's very exciting, and oh my gosh, the guy is lovable. I mean, that not World Series, it was the ALDS against the Yankees with his parents in the crowd and his brother out there, and they were crying. It was awesome to see, and he became a fan favorite instantly, especially for what he did to the Dodgers in the World Series. But again, I want to go back to this. And it's just a small sample size in the regular season, 14 innings pitched with an ERA at 3.21. However, if this guy could become a staple of this rotation moving forward, that would be massive. Because right now, we're looking at a rotation that's going to be missing quite a lot of guys in 2027 moving forward. You're going to be missing Shane Bieber, and you're going to be missing Kevin Gausman, and Jose Barrios, if he has a decent year and takes that player opt-out, well, that's 3 guys out of the rotation. It is crucial for this time if the Blue Jays want to continue their winning window moving forward. You got to have guys like Trey Yesavage step up and just become a reliable guy. I'm not asking him to become the ace, a reliable strikeout machine. Any given start, you are feeling confident that you got a chance to win. That's what those guys provide, the guys I just mentioned right there. If you can become that, Mr. Trey Yesavage, we're more than happy with your development. Now, those are the young guys that are relatively cheap and are a big part of this window moving forward, who have lots of years left on this Blue Jays team. But how about the guys that the Blue Jays invested in this winter that they're expecting to be a big part of this team moving forward? Number one guy I'm looking at, you guys probably know who it is, that is Dylan Cease. There's a lot of pressure on Dylan Cease to kind of become the next Kevin Gausman of this team. Like I mentioned, they're missing a lot of guys from that rotation after 2026, and Dylan Cease is paid for the next 7 years, and he's paid quite a lot of money, $26.75 million every single year. Now, the big question with Dylan Cease is, can he find some consistency? You look at the numbers last year, and you're thinking, well, that's not a good player if you just look at the numbers, or at least not a guy that makes $26 million per year, 4.55 BRA, whip of 1.32. But the big thing for Dylan Cease is he's a big strikeout guy, and he's got to be able to command his stuff. Brandon Little, he was a decent strikeout guy last year, but he lost some command because he was missing out of the zone and had a lot of walks. That's Dylan Cease's case right here. If he can't get the strikeout or the swing and miss, he's going to be giving up a lot of walks, and that's what leads to big innings and short outings. So that's what happened to Dylan Cease last year. Can he bounce back and have a cleaner year? He's done it in the past under Pete Walker. We'll have to see, but he's going to need to prove that he can do it this year. If he has a bad year this year, yes, I know there's 6 more years, but there will start to be a lot of doubt with this team moving forward when you lose those 3 big guys like Bieber and Gausman and Barrios. You're going to have questions. If Dylan Cease doesn't perform well, you're going to be like, well, who is going to be anchoring down this rotation? Is it going to be Trey Yesavage? Is it going to be this guy? We need to have a little more stability here. So it is crucial for this guy to find it this year. And if not, it's not the end of the world. but I'd feel a lot more comfortable if the guy you're paying to do well and give you stability actually does that. Now, another guy I got my eyes on is Cody Ponce. Now, I know it's not as big as a deal as Dylan Cease got. He only got a 3-year, $30 million deal, but still, for the next 3 years, you're asking for some stability in the back end of that rotation. When you look at the stuff he did over in Japan, it was phenomenal. I mean, he was literally the KBO MVP with a 1.89 ERA, a whip of 0.935. That's awesome. The big question is, can that translate into MLB level stuff? Can you get MLB hitters with that stuff? He has a new pitch. It's the splitter. So hopefully, under under Pete Walker, I mean, he's had very good success with guys with splitters. You got Bader Francis in that one stretch. Obviously, Kevin Gausman. You had Eric Swanson with that one stretch. And then, of course, Trey Savage with that nasty splitter. So you got a lot of splitter pitchers on this team. Can he, kind of take what they've learned and apply it to his own work? We'll wait and see. But again, he's kind of crucial because he's only getting paid $10 million per year for the next 3 years. I kind of look at him as what they paid Yusei Kikuchi, back in the day where it was a 3-year, it was like 12 or 13 million per year. But Yusei Kikuchi had a bad year and then a really great year and then a somewhat okay year. Cody Ponce, I'm kind of expecting the same thing. Can you give me some stability and reliability down in the back end of that rotation? If you could do that, that would just provide a little bit of a safety net for this team moving forward. Because again, the only 3 guys that are projected in this rotation this upcoming year that will be here after 2026 are Ponce, Arya Savage, and Dylan Cease. If they all falter, what is the rotation, right? We're going from a complete upside to a complete downside. So if you could just provide some stability, we'd feel a lot more comfortable. And speaking of international signings, the big one that is on the position player side of things is Kazuma Okamoto. Now, you guys know I'm a big fan of Kazuma Okamoto. I think he's going to have great upside with this team. The big question is, like I've always been saying, is can he do that at a major league level? We'll have to wait and see. He is going to be on the team for the next 4 years. 4 years of Kazuma Okamoto going to be playing third base, rock solid right there. He's not moving around. I know people said he could play some outfield from time to time. I don't know if that's their plan. We'll have to wait and see in spring training how they're implementing him. But obviously, it goes without saying, he is going to need to be a rock solid factor driving in runs with that offense. Again, no Bo Bichette. And you're paying this guy to be a run producer. He's probably going to be in that middle of the lineup. I know he's projected right now to be the 7th hitter. I would expect him to kind of move up to either 6, 5, or 4, somewhere in that RBI spot to drive in runs. Again, the question is, can he do it at the MLB level? We have to wait and see. But if they can, that's a really great deal to get out of a free agent. $15 million per year. Like, you're seeing guys go for 20, 30. I mean, Bo Bichette 42, Kyle Tucker 60. If you can get similar RBI production with those guys out of Kazuma Okamoto, you're saving so much money. And for the future, that's going to be great moving forward. Now we're going to be revisiting some older investments the Blue Jays have made into this team that really do need to pan out for the short-term future. And I'm looking at guys like Jeff Hoffman. He's got 2 years left this year and next year. So obviously it's not as crucial for the long term, but they do need to get some stability out of Jeff Hoffman. Can he be the guy in 2027? Can he be the guy in 2026? It was a very up and down year for Jeff Hoffman. There were months where he was the best closer in baseball, and then others it was like, what are you doing? You could be the worst, bullpen pitcher on this team. And that's because of the home run ball. He gave up a lot of home runs. And the whip is relatively good. Like, his walk and strikeout rate was pretty dang good, and it was just the home run ball. And you look at the metrics, too, the advanced metrics, it was so solid. Like, his expected batting average, expected slugging, it was really good, which is really weird, while his barrel percentage was in the top 1 percentile, which is, okay, bad. It was one of the worst percentiles in all of, actually, the worst percentile in baseball. So they're going to need a bounce back from Jeff Hoffman. They invested money in him, and if they want to have some success, at least for the immediate future, they need him to bounce back and do what he did with the Philadelphia Phillies, which was very elite. And finally, the last guy on this list that is a past investment that we really need to pan out is Anthony Santander. Now, I do want to look at his contract actually first right here before we dive into who he is. But Santander, he's going to be on the books for the next 2 years, $13.7 million. Then he has a player opt-out in 2028. He may or may not take it depending on how he does, but let's say he doesn't take it, well, then you'll have him for probably the next 2 to 3 years after that, up until 2030. We'll go down that road road when we get there, but he could be here for quite a while. And when I'm looking at a team that is losing potentially George Springer or a Dalton Varsho, which is all the way at the bottom down here, I mean, that's 2 outfield spots right there. I know George doesn't play too much outfield anymore, but still 2 primary outfielders or DHs that you're losing right there. And the next veteran guy, at least that's on the books right now, that could walk in and immediately take that role would be Anthony Santander. And look, we brought him in here for a reason. We brought him in here to hit home runs. 44 in the year that, we signed him. And he only hit 6 last year, but he was injured for the majority of the season with only 54 games under his belt. And when he was playing, it wasn't very good, probably because he was injured. It was for a while there. I was screaming, put this guy on the IL. It's clear that he's hurt. But if he can walk into this year healthy, put up good numbers, that gives me so much more confidence in this team. Again, I'm looking at the monetary value and what you're getting on the field. If you can get a 30 to 40 home run hitter, again, from Anthony Santander, and you're paying him $13 million a year. I know you're deferring some money, but still, for this payroll, $13 million this year, $13 million next year, and potentially for the future, that is unbelievable. And these are all of these guys right here are going to be huge storylines that we need to watch in 2026. If you're a new Blue Jay fan, I know that we actually have a lot of new Blue Jay fans on this channel. What I really love to look out for are the individual player stories and what they mean to the overall organization. All of these guys have stories. Every single one of them. Different backgrounds, different upbringings, different contributions to the game, different abilities on the field. But number one thing is what we're looking for is we need to win the World Series, and we need to win it for a long, sustained period of time. We got to have a window of a roster to continue to keep competing every single year. And right now we're in a transition phase, right? When you have guys like George Springer, Kevin Gausman, all these guys leaving the book, all the guys that I mentioned in this video, and already Bo Bichette, you're going to need the next wave to step in and take their place and fill in their shoes. So these are the guys, not only for this year, because this year we're still pretty stacked. I feel very confident about, making a deep run this year. It's about the future years, and I want to take a look at that. So if these guys can prove that they can do it this year, then I'll feel a lot more confident going to next free agency that these guys that we have on a roster, they can certainly do it. But guys, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, guys, go Jays go!